there's no shame in that in the ACC right now. 13-3. The ACC is top heavy. The number of teams we've got in the top 25 and in the top 10 area is ridiculous. What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? This is Jeff with the Heel Brothers, back for another Tar Heel Olympic Spotlight episode. I think this is number 3 now, if we're keeping score at home. Hope everybody's had a good week. Yeah, as always, there's so many Olympic sports, really, that there's always something going. There's always things going. So it's been a busy week, and most of the action with the Olympic sports stuff takes place between like Friday and Sunday. So it's packed in there with things that have been going on. But let's go ahead and jump into it and get started. Last week I saved the best for last on the field hockey ACC title, but this week I'm gonna start off with the field hockey ladies. So the team, like we were talking about last week, obviously won the ACC title, and I think we recorded before the selection show happened for the NCAA tournament, for the NCAA championships for field hockey. They were at 10 o'clock last Sunday, and as expected, being the number 1 team in the nation, 21-1 record, we were the overall number 1 seed, and with that comes things like being able to host and things like that. So the first couple of rounds for sure. So yeah, we did. We actually hosted the opening round, which was kind of like the play-in type deal, or to determine who played us in our first round match. And that was our first round game, and that took place. Our first round game took place on Friday in Chapel Hill at Karen Shelton Stadium against St. Joseph's, good old St. Joe's. And Carolina came out on top 2-1 behind goals from Charlie Bruder and Riley Heck. Who else? If you cut up at all, they're the horsepower behind the team, man. They're always in the mix. You're always going to hear their names. So yep, that gave us that moved us on to the second round, and in the second round we wound up getting Duke. So third time this year playing Duke, all within like 3 weeks or something. It's crazy. It's nuts. We played them today, and this was second round, but it was going to earn a spot in the Final Four. So played them today, came out with a 2-1 overtime victory. 3-0 this year against the folks from Durham. Had goals from goal in regulation time from Karahek, and the overtime winner was from Sana Hawk. And again, 2-1 moves us on, like I said, 3-0 against Duke. 29th trip to the Final Four for the Heels now. And that moves us on to the Final Four, where we've got coming up Northwestern. And the Final Four this year is going to take place in Durham. So I believe it's Koskinen Stadium, I think, is where they play. I think that's where they play field hockey. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, drew Northwestern. Northwestern is tough. Always have been. They're one of those teams that it's a lot of times number 1 goes between us and them, back and forth. And interestingly enough, Northwestern 20-1 on the season this year. Interestingly enough, Emily Kirshner is a player on the Northwestern team. Her dad, Steve, you might have heard his name. He's been at Carolina for a long time. He's actually the senior associate AD for sports info and media relations at Carolina. So Steve's a name that, I know I've heard forever when you listen to sports, and you always hear them. A lot of times you'll hear them on the basketball broadcast and stuff. I think specifically is where I really remember hearing. You hear him reference Steve Kirshner a lot. Yeah, so that's interesting. And if you follow him on Twitter or anything, you'll see he talks about Northwestern stuff going on because, hey, his daughter's there. So, and they're, like I said, they're a perennially strong field hockey program. So it's going to be a good one. Definitely going to be a good one. So winner of that one obviously goes to the championship game. we won't put our cart before the horse on that one because it's going to be a tough battle. But that the title game would take place or will take place on Sunday. So hopefully we'll get there. Been a great season. Like I said, it's see how they finish out. Been strong. Only one loss on the season, and we've done a lot of good work. So moving on. Oh, actually, and there's this week if you saw posts, especially posts on social media from the various programs, the signed all the various signed graphics and things like that. National Signing Day took place this week. A lot of the teams would put out things about put out those posts about folks that have signed with the program. There were some official articles put out also on GoHills.com. Several of the programs haven't done that yet. So the numbers, I didn't go back and actually count each one of them, but the numbers are up in the air on some of those. Field hockey is one of the ones, we signed. They did actually put an official article on GoHills.com about the class, and there were six student athletes signed to the 2026 class for field hockey, and as to be expected, it's a strong class. Got some local flavor on there as well from the area. So looking forward to the end of the season and to keep rolling on the dynasty that is North Carolina field hockey. Next up, let's go cross country. The NCAA Southeast Regionals took place in Charlottesville on Friday of this week, and we had a pretty good showing there. Our women finished third, and we actually had an individual bronze medalist in that. Finishing third was Vera Schoberg. So the way the NCAA championships and the bids work for cross country is the top two teams for each regional get an automatic or AQs, so they're automatic qualifiers. And then what they have to do after that is then you have to go to selection and you have to get an at-large bid. And I think there are 15 at-large bids after they factor in all the top twos from all the various regions. But before we get to that, the men also participated in the Southeast Regionals in Charlottesville, and Hills came home in fifth, and they were led with an 8th place finish by from Colton Sands. Again, a name that you hear a lot when it comes to Carolina cross country. Always at the top as far as the top one or two from how we finish and leading the pack for us. Again, only top two get AQs, so we had to wait for the selection show, which actually was last night. And both of our teams did earn at-large bids to the NCAA championships. So, that's awesome. So we're still in the hunt for NCAA titles in cross country, men's and women's. Championships are going to take place in Columbia, Missouri, University of Missouri, on Saturday this week. Yeah, Saturday. Yep. This coming Saturday. Just kind of last year, just notes of last year and how we did. We had both teams that participated last year as well in the NCAA championships. The men finished 6th last season, which actually made 3 straight top 10s at the NCAAs for our men's cross country team. So looking to continue that string. The women had a strong showing also in 11th. So, like I said, I think it's 15 at-larges. I can't remember how many regionals they were. That's research I probably should have done beforehand, but there's 2 from each region. So it's a lot of teams. You jump up, there's a good number of teams there. Women finished in 11th. Strong deal from them. So looking forward to seeing how they perform on the stage there, and a chance to score some points, especially when it comes to we start looking at things like the Directors Cup, which I haven't talked about yet. But Olympic sports factor pretty strong into the Directors Cup, and if you know anything about that, Carolina has always never won it. Never actually won the Directors Cup, but we've always been in the top, and perennially we're the top ACC school for sure. Stanford coming in now changes that a little bit because Stanford's always been strong. So, but we had I think we finished 3rd this past year. My head said 5th for a second, but I think it actually factored in the 3rd. I probably should look that up before I try to start speaking and speak out of turn on it. point is, though, we always finish strong there, and that's a measure of athletic success across all the programs. So it's a cool thing and a cool deal, and one of those things that also lets us know that, hey, our strong finishes there every year show that we are one of the preeminent programs in the country, schools in the country when it comes to our athletic programs, and it just backs it up for us year after year. Volleyball next up. Had a couple home Chapel Hill matches this year. Actually, the today's match in Carmichael was the penultimate home match. So we only have one more home match left, and it's a couple weeks off. And I'll touch on that at the end. But we started out in the polls this week. If you remember last week, we had a good top 10 win, and then we had a top 10 loss as well, like a top 5 loss. But when the polls came out, we held strong in the polls, and we stayed at number 15, consecutive 15 top 15s, which goes to a lot of what we were talking about the rankings. If you remember, first time we've done stuff like that in 9 years. So again, shows the level that Coach Shaw has the program at, and how we just continue to succeed and build and grow and get better. But yeah, so Friday night took on the Cavaliers from Charlottesville in C-Mike. Got the 3-1 win. Got the 3-1 win there. Virginia's had a down year. They haven't been good this year, to be honest. And I think Carolina, we can sometimes we start slow, and sometimes we get a little sloppy on stuff. I personally, we should have swept them. I think I think the team will tell you the same thing. The coaching staff and the team will tell you the same thing. That's a match that you really feel like you should sweep. A UVA. Either way, still got a 3-1 win. And that's the name of the game in the end. And the last couple sets, we really did respond and kind of shake off. We won the first set, lost the second, and then came back and won 3 and 4. Carmichael was awesome again. As volleyball fans have done a really good job in Carmichael this year, really showing up and being loud. And the team makes that easy because the team has so much fun, and the team will chant and dance around. The team starts Tar Heel chants a lot of times themselves, especially towards the end. It's just fun. But just a couple highlights from that. Off the bench, we had a big performance from Big Red, Bridget Malone, off the bench. She had 8 kills. Bridget, her dad is actually Mike Malone, who was the coach of the Nuggets. And he's been on ESPN this year wearing a Carolina volleyball sweatshirt, in case you've seen that. So that's pretty cool to have somebody like that on the team, and she can go. Just a freshman. She can go, though. So it's going to be good to see her develop and continue to grow in Carolina blue. Chelsea Thorpe, 17 kills and last week I talked about hit percentage. Insane 593 hit percentage. It really doesn't get any better than that. You can't, especially with 17 kills. I can see getting 1,000 or 1,000 percentage if you've got like one kill, 2 kills, maybe. But to have that, it's just, again, it's the attempts and the errors are way down on the attack errors. That's just super, super efficient. Sophie Hampton, of course, also in there with double digits on kills. She had 14. Lainey Smith had 10 and hit 429. So another, those were the double digit kills for us. We had a couple ladies with double digit assists, as to be expected. The setters, 30 assists for Zoe Barrett, starting setter, 20 assists for Sienna Kaza, dynamite freshman this year. Really, really been impressive. Double-digit digs from libero Maddie May, and also 11 digs for Zoe, setter Zoe Barrett, who with the 14, with the 30 assists and those 11 digs, got the double. And then Jackie Taylor had 4 blocks, so she led us in blocks. I think I've talked about it before. I can't remember what I've said before in past episodes and interviews and stuff. Jackie Taylor, if you don't know, is the daughter of Sean Taylor, and she's been, she's got that athlete, thoroughbred athlete lineage going, man, and she's something else to see. But yeah, four blocks from her. Went into today, taking in Carmichael again, taking on Virginia Tech, the Hokies. Again, another team that's had a rough year, and we took care of business like we should. 3-0 shutout sweep. Sweep, I shouldn't say shutout, but 3-0 sweep with them would be more appropriate. And really, I think it was 25-20, 25-19, and then the third set was 25-12. It just took care of them, man. It just, did what we should be doing as the number 15 team in the country to teams that just aren't that good. Had 10 kills each from Sophie Hampton and Haley Pierce, name that comes up some. Not as much since I've been talking, but the team is deep. We're really deep as far as what we can do, and that's a testament to us doing work, the staff doing work in the transfer portal, as well as our freshmen coming in. That's 21 matches this year, I believe, that Sophie's had double-digit kills. Again, I've talked about before. She was the lone Tar Heel on the preseason All-ACC team, as well as she was added to the player, the volleyball national player of the year watch list during the season. So she's, good things happen. Good things happen when it gets set to her. And it's, nobody wants any part of the ball when she's swinging. Then based off of that, though, with those 10 kills I mentioned with Haley, notable with her, she hit 450. She hit a 450 clip, which again, high level. Think of it a little bit like batting average, maybe. It's just real high there. 21 assists from Zoe Barrett, 12 assists from Sienna Kaza in the double digits there. Maddie May, 13 digs. If you remember last week on Sunday, she reached the 1,500 digs plateau in her career. 6th Tar Heel to do it. Actually recognized her. They recognized her for that and gave her, special commemorative ball for that on Friday night during the match, which is, cool to see that success she's had over her career. But then also double-digit digs from Julia Bollinger and Sienna Kaza, and that gave Sienna, with her 12 assists and 10 digs, gave her a double-double, which I think is the second of her Carolina career as a freshman. And she's played a lot of meaningful minutes. Our other setter that was a transfer, came in as a transfer, has been injured. So Sienna's had to step up, and she's definitely done that. Blocks were led by Jackie Taylor again. No big surprise there. You're going to see either her or Lauren Shutter in that block category, because they're stone walls there for us at the net. So that moves us to 20-5 now overall, 13-3 in the ACC. So we're battling that top 5-ish area in the ACC, which is where we were predicted to finish. And there's no shame in that in the ACC right now. 13-3. The ACC is top heavy. The number of teams we've got in the top 25 and in the top 10 area is ridiculous. Our next three for volleyball are on the road. We got FSU in Miami next weekend, Friday and Sunday. Go up to Virginia Thanksgiving week, and then wrap it up back in St. Mike and Carmichael senior night against Miami. But that's a couple weeks out. That's that senior night match against Miami is actually the night of the afternoon, I think. I don't remember the time. It's the 29th. So it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So it's the same day as the football game against State at State. I'll be in Carmichael for senior night, so can't miss the chance to see this team one last time, probably, depending on what happens with NCAAs and where we go. I don't want to miss that chance, especially to see the folks that have done such a good job. And there's another one of those teams that we've announced that they actually put out an article announcing formally announcing the new signees. We had 3 of those freshmen coming in next year in the 2026 class. Interestingly enough, 2 of those are local products. Local products from strong high school programs in the area. Like I said, local products, Green Level and Apex Friendship. And also played at Triangle, coming from Triangle Volleyball Academy, or Triangle Volleyball Club, excuse me. Sorry, Coach. Coach Shaw was the associate director there before he came to Carolina. And we've got some players on the team currently that are out of that club. Club scene in this area in North Carolina. Again, my daughter plays club volleyball in this area. The club scene is rich, and there's a lot of them. Triangle Volleyball Club is bar none one of the best in a very saturated market. Triangle Volleyball Club is a good one, and I said something earlier in the week about I really like this pipeline that seems to be building, because I think we have 3 current players from Triangle Volleyball Club, and we've got 2 more coming in. So it's you got the resources around you better tap into it, right? And we've done that. So looking forward to seeing the season progress and see if we get, remember last year I talked about, or earlier I talked about our success last year and how the program's been going. We made it to the second round of the NCAAs last year, lost to eventual national champion Penn State. So I would love to be able to get in there this year. And maybe sneak out a home one to start off with and see where we go. We got some work to do. Miami, we got Miami twice. And they're a top 15 team. So, we're 15. They're a top team. So we got them twice, home and home with them. So we can definitely make some noise and position ourselves really strong in the national picture with some good showings and some wins over them. And then just taking care of business with the other teams we have. That goes the same for any sport. You got to take care of business when you should. Can't afford to drop those and have little trap games going on with that. Women's soccer had some NCAA action. We did get into the NCAA tournament. After having a disappointing season, really coming off the national title last year, falling out of the poll for, like what I said, I think was, from what I could tell, was the first time we'd ever been unranked. And we were for the last 2 weeks of this season. So that's on the wrong kind of history there. But we came in, we got the at-large, had the dubious task of taking on the 3 seed Tennessee on Friday in Knoxville. Lost season opener, lost to them this year. But, like we do, the cream always rises to the top. And we went in enemy territory and took them out 3-1 in the first round of the NCAA. So, just shows there's a little something there. There's a little something there still left, I think, in the team. And again, we've had some injuries, and we've got some injuries now for people that are not available. We got some people back from national teams, national teams that are now back that have missed a little bit of time this year. Like I said, 3-1. That was behind a brace, which was 2 goals from Kate Fossey and 1 goal from Caitlin Mara. Like I said, avenged that season opening loss, which is huge, and especially doing it when it counts in the NCAA tournament. Next up, I think it's 6 seed. I think Texas Tech, the 6 seed. It got them in Fort Worth. Draw them now in Fort Worth on Thursday. So the 20th November, Thursday this week. Keep it rolling. See how the momentum goes. See what we can keep doing. This is the time, and I think we got something for them. Of note, this week also in the women's soccer area for us at Carolina, we had two Tar Heels, high level Tar Heels, which most of our women's soccer players are. But Tobin Heath and Heather O'Reilly, it was announced this week, were elected to the 2026 class of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Carolina legends, U.S. national team legends, National Women's Soccer League legends. It's good to see. It's good to see folks get their due and get those Hall of Fame rewards and things like that. And Heather and Tobin certainly deserve it. So super happy for them to get that. So Next up, we'll go to wrestling. Um, had had one match this week, one dual meet this week. We actually beginning earlier in the week, polls came out. We jumped from a tie from 23rd, tie in 23rd to 21st in the polls. There's those things move. The polls are crazy. Wrestling poll seems to be weird to me. You don't drop as much as you think you will with losses a lot of times. I know we've maintained. We always kick around. It seems to me the last few years especially, 5, 6 just maybe, especially we've been around that 20 to 25 area, and we might take some losses in the ACC and stuff because the ACC again I think there's 7 teams in the ACC that have wrestling now with Stanford coming in the conference, and they're a ranked team. Coach Cole, Rob Cole, our head coach now, he was at Stanford coaching before he came here, but he's a Carolina guy. He's a Carolina alum, wrestling alum, previous national champion, also wrestling individual national champion, leading the guys. So, but yeah, like there, we always seem to be kicking around that 21, 25, and our dual record might come to about 500 sometimes, and we still stay in that 25 range for the dual meet polls. Is what it is. It's hard to explain the movement there and how that works. But it's kind of things I've seen and noticed over the years. We did take on the United States Naval Academy on Saturday in Carmichael. It was Military Appreciation Day, and Navy they're not ranked. They did get some. Actually, look, they got a couple votes in the last poll. They have a few ranked individual wrestlers also. So they're one of those squads that's really gritty, and it's what I would expect from a service academy. Army actually is United States Military Academy. Army is actually ranked in the top 25 currently. Just what I would expect from a service academy. They're gritty, they're tough. And it was hard fought, man. We pulled it out 20 to 18. There's 10 weight classes in a dual meet for wrestling, and we won 5. They won 5. The story of it was we got a few more bonus point victories. So we managed to get one pinfall victory and 2 major decision victories, which is pinfalls or a normal decision for wrestling. And I might have explained this before, but just so you understand what I'm talking about as you hear me talk about it through the coming weeks, because wrestling goes on till the NCAA tournament or NCAA championships in March. Usually that first week or so, I think it's the first week of weekend of the tournament, of the basketball tournament, is when the champion, that Saturday, that like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think it is when the wrestling championship takes place. But if a normal victory, just if it's less than 7 points, if less than 7 points in the 7 or less is a decision, what they call a decision. That's 3 team points. So then 8 to 14 is called a major decision, and that's 14 points. If you get up 15 points in your individual match stops, and it's called a technical fall. That's 5 team points, and then 6 is the most you can get in an individual match that goes towards the result that goes towards your team score, and 6 is for pinfalls, pins, forfeits, and injury defaults. So we basically, like I said, we wound up with a pin, and both had 5 victories each matches wise between us and Navy, but we wound up with 1 pin and 2 major decisions, whereas Navy on their 5 had 1 tech fall and 1 major decision. So that gives us the edge, the 2-point edge. We did get those 5 victories. We got number 19 ranked 125 wrestler in the country transfer in from Iowa State this year for Carolina, Kyson Turakina. Number 19 ranked 133 wrestler Ethan Oakley. He's been at Carolina a couple years now, but he was actually a transfer from App. And also an NCAA qualifier last year for us. Laird Root at 157, Jake Daly at 184, were victories. And then the pinfall victory we had was transfer from Ohio State, his first year at Carolina now, number 20 ranked 165 pounder, Bryce Hetner. Big time second period pin. Just a quick, just had to go. I mean, quick got the guy on his back, and it didn't take him, but a second or two to get the guy to where he got the pin. So again, awesome showing. It. You got to win the gut. You got to be able to win the tough ones and gut out those gritty close matches. Especially, like I said, ACC is so strong in wrestling. Really top heavy from the teams we do have. I think the only team in the ACC in wrestling that really has not been anything in the last few years has been Duke. Everybody else is usually pretty strong. Virginia, a little bit on, not quite as much, but they're still been, they're still tend to be tough. Duke hasn't been a tough match the last few years, especially for us. But then, the NC States, who really, let's be frank, respect where it's due, as much as, people don't like to do it probably from the Carolina side. They've run the ACC more or less, especially when it comes to the tournament. Now, regular seasons, we've had the share of regular season title in the ACC a few times, but the tournament title has escaped us, as well as a victory over State. We haven't. I think State's beat us 10 straight duels, but then Virginia Tech is really strong. There was a 3-way share of the regular season last year in wrestling in the ACC. It was us, it was Vatech, and it was State. We kind of all beat each other and kind of evened it out. Pitt's strong. Stanford, like I said, Stanford coming into the ACC, Stanford's strong. So it's one of those things. Not a lot of teams in there, but they're really good. Really good, the ones that are in there. Next up for wrestling, Friday we have an interesting one. The Carolina Duels in Carmichael. And we've got 3 matches on Friday that make up the duels. We've got we're taking on UNC Pembroke at 2:30, Greensboro College at 4, and Davidson at 5:30. So got those going on. If you get a chance, good time to go over there and check them out. See what team's about. We did have, I mentioned, I don't know if it came out last week and I mentioned it last week, but we did have some news come out that we've got 2 of our wrestlers who both happen to be NCAA qualifiers that are out this year, that are going to take medical red shirts on injury. So it's a little going to be a little tough. We're going to have to pick it up. But like I've said, when I kind of previewed it before with the returning folks we had, plus some transfers that we brought in, plus our freshman class. We got a chance to see kind of what these folks are made up and kind of next man up. Coach Cole seems to be pretty excited about what he thinks the potential is and what we can do. So take the ride along with them and see what we got. Should be interesting. Always is. Never a dull moment in wrestling. Men's soccer did not have any action this week. And the NCAA selection show is tomorrow, so we got to wait till tomorrow to see what we've got if we do have a future to this season. If you remember, the men's soccer team had been ranked in and out of the polls a few times this year. Really had a unbeaten streak that went on for like eight or so matches, I think, this year. Where a lot of that we were tying or drawing with like really high ranked teams like a NC State who was actually number 1 at one point this year in soccer, which was the first time they'd ever been in men's soccer. Wake Forest, Virginia, ACC squads that are really strong. And we managed to draw with those, which kind of kept us in the polls and stuff like that. But then we wound up falling out. Like I said, we lost in the ACC tournament to Virginia, I believe, last weekend, if I remember correctly back there. But the all ACC teams were announced this week, the men's soccer honors. We didn't have anything that fell into Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, any of that stuff. But we did have some folks on the all ACC teams that were announced. We had 2 second teamers Dylan Kropp and Luca Nicolai, a third teamer in Jack Sandmeyer, and an all freshman team selection in Emmanuel Matthew. So again, folks, there were a couple folks left out of there that I thought was interesting. Nacho Abreu being left out was really interesting to me. I thought he deserved some. I thought he especially deserved some recognition in there. But you always get those choices and those things that you kind of shrug your shoulders and hey, we got robbed a little bit, but it's kind of the way it goes. But Nacho definitely deserved some recognition in there and didn't get it. But we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what we get in the NCAA selection coming up tomorrow. See if we get a chance to live to fight another day and maybe make some noise. And it always gives you a chance. New life, so to speak, new season, so to speak. Fencing was in action the last couple days, and it bleeds over into tomorrow in Fort Worth, Texas, at the November North American Cup. I have not seen any results. I actually pulled up the live results site and tried to look through stuff, and I had a really hard time reading through it and finding our fencers. So, and Go Hills has not put out an article yet. The whole time on that. So I, kind of have to wait to see what happens on that, and see what happens there. But fencers have been in action up there or down there in Fort Worth. Men's and women's tennis did not have any action last week. They had some folks also that were announced as signees for the 2026 classes with articles on Go Hills. I think notably for women's tennis, if you follow women's tennis at all, my daughter's excited about this. Anna Fry is signed and sealed as a Tar Heel, and she's got she's made some noise already in tournaments, and she's got a future. She's going to be a good one. They add to the strong squad we have already, so I'm looking forward to that. And like I said, my daughter is already, when she first committed, like verbally committed to Carolina a little bit back, I didn't know who she was because I hadn't followed it. I just hadn't followed this area that I just kind of missed. But then I was like, all right, well, daughter knows who she is, so which means she has a social media presence because let's face it, that's how kids know stuff these days. But I actually went and looked and see what Anna's been doing in her tennis career so far, and yeah, she's legit, and that she's gonna be fun to watch at Carolina for sure. I don't think any of the other programs announced, like swimming and diving actually did. Swimming and diving put out a Go Hills article from their sports information area. I think they signed 12, combined with men's and women's, 12 folks to the 2026 class. I think it was 11 swimmers and 1 diver there. You can go to gohills.com and check specifics on that. The other teams, if you, like I said, on social media, especially on Instagram, if you looked at the accounts for track and field and wrestling and tennis and stuff, golf, you would see, I think golf actually did put out articles on a couple folks too for men's and women's golf both. But you can go to gohills.com. You can find those Instagram accounts for the various programs. You'll see the signed, you'll see the images, the graphics for signed, and you'll see that stuff. For those, if you want to check them out, it is of note that women's lacrosse signed 10 had 10 folks signed to the 2026 class, and it is the number 1 ranked class for 2026 recruiting class for 2026. So, we just want to, we're one of those programs that Coach Levy's got us there, and we're strong. And just to add again, embarrassment of riches, like I said, I've said it a million times, I think, to y'all, embarrassment of riches for the programs, and we just keep getting richer. So looking forward, again, it's always a National Signing Day is always a time. It's one of those times that kind of it gets me a little bit because it's just a chance for folks to come into the Carolina family and welcome those folks into the Carolina family and get to see them put it out there for us and their blood, sweat, and tears for us as fans their whatever their field of play is. So it's just awesome. Awesome to see. Swimming and diving did not have any action this week. Remember last week we were at South Carolina. Last week we were at South Carolina. Going into the off week, this off week, in dual meets in the pool, the men are 3-1, the women are 1-3. Remember I said the women have swimming diving team has had some really tough top ranked teams that they faced and come up just short. Next up for them is this week, back down in Columbia where we were the other week for the South Carolina Invitational. So, obviously it's not a dual meet. It's going to be a collection of teams, and we'll see how we go up against them and if we can come out with any medals out of that. The new polls did the CSCAA dual meet polls. Say that 10 times fast. Came out this week. It's a monthly poll. So the way this poll works for swimming and diving is it comes out around the middle of each month. So the new one did come out. The men on the Carolina men swimming and diving on the strength of that, both teams were ranked coming into this new poll and coming into the season period. The men, though, in the new poll that just came out on the strength of their 3-1 dual meet schedule or dual meet record, moved up 2 spots to number 17. The women were ranked 14th coming in, 1-3 in dual meets so far, dropped 7 spots to number 21, but they're still in it. They're still gonna still keep working and keep giving it their all, and see what kind of noise they can make in the season as well. Those are the basics. I did mention last week about women's basketball, and I touched on it. I still haven't figured out how deep I'm going to go yet because it's kind of there's some things that aren't necessarily Olympic sports considered Olympic sports, even though women's basketball is playing the Olympics. There's certain things that aren't, and if you look, various places will tell you this is an Olympic sport, this is not. I still kind of waver on what I'm going to cover, and that's the beauty of it. I can kind of cover what I want to. It's my show. But women's basketball, like I said, so far we don't have for the Hill Brother platform, we don't have coverage of it. So I do figure out, I did want to figure out at least mention it. But the women's basketball team has been out in Vegas for the WBCA Challenge. Thursday night, women's team is ranked number 11 right now. Ours is. Thursday night took on number 3 UCLA out in Vegas. Actually had the lead after the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But didn't go our way in the end, and we dropped that one to UCLA, to the Bruins, 78-60. Got a chance to get back at it though yesterday out there against a pretty tough Fairfield team. Came out on top on that one, 82-68. So split it out there, got some good experience. It's always good, playing the high ranked teams, the UCLAs and those folks. It's only going to make you better, right? And we still don't have a full complement of players yet. We're still missing. So we've had folks that have really, there's been some step ups, folks. Sierra Toomey she's grown. I had a lot of hope for her when she came in. Second year, I had a lot of hope for her when she came in. She looks like she's made, she's done a lot of work, and her game so far has shown that. So she's one of our bigs. And she's done a really good job so far. So kind of one of those to keep out watch. Like I said last week, we did have a freshman player and another player that were named to the freshman of the year, the national freshman of the year and the national player of the year watch lists for the preseason. So, keeping up with Renee Kelly and Nyla Brooks in that respect. It'll be a fun season. To, get a chance. I've said it before, overall, but it goes for all the sports. If you get a chance, that's what I try to do. I'm here trying to get people to know about these sports that you might not know enough about at Carolina or hear enough about, and just let you know, hey, we're good in these, and they're there to go see. Some of these teams don't get the support, don't get a whole bunch of support really, and they deserve it. They're putting in work. They're putting in the work, and just because it's not a high rev sport, uh, their effort is there, and Carolina's good in them, and it's always fun to go support everything you can. Good experiences at each one of them. So I urge y'all to go check them out if you can. I think that's going to be it for this week. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week. I did want to, if you've seen the Hill Brothers Instagram, we've got a special giveaway going with K-Bar soap. There's the graphic. The K-Bar soap, as you've heard us talk about, K-Bar, our sponsor here at the Hill Brothers, they've got a K-Bar soap Christmas giveaway, and you can win some cool stuff. So step one, like this post on Instagram. It's the Hill Brothers Instagram account. Step two, follow K-Bar Soap at K-Bar Soap Co. on Instagram. The winner is going to be picked live on Instagram December 1st. I believe I looked at it earlier today. I think what you win, the giveaway, I think the stuff's out there. It's some cool stuff. So go check that out. Check out K-Bar Soap while you're at it, like we've talked about. Not just soap, got other hygiene products, but the soap's fantastic. Still haven't tried the beard stuff yet. I got to work on that. But yeah, check it out. Check them out. If you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe for Hill Brothers here. Comment on us. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you want to see more of, what you don't want to see. Hey. And as always, I'll talk to y'all next week. And as always, go Heels.